Have we just seen the market pivot with a move to the upside ahead of the CPI data that we're expecting in the next 24 hours? We also have those FOMC minutes, and the market does feel like it's both priced in a 50 basis points move, and equally we are starting to trend in the right direction. In this video though, we are going to be taking a look at the 10% move on USTC, Lunar Classic starting to move, and some interesting proposals coming out of Rebel Station, and finally SBF, that man again, he is getting dragged into the Senate. We're going to talk about that and how that absolutely could affect the price of Lunar Classic. Now, with that being said, let's get into the market. So we can see here, we are just margin. I'm going to actually refresh the page. Yeah, so 0.12%, 850 billion, currently where we sit in the last 24 hours. BTC dominance though, 38.8. So we know people are picking up some Bitcoin. You can see here on most of the charts down this right-hand side, some nice aggressive move in the last kind of 4 to 5 hours. 17,165 is the price, up 0.23% on the 24 hours. ETH at 12.72. Would love ETH to kind of finish out around 1300. We did see BNB pullback, could be an opportunity to get in given the noise coming out of the media and the media attack currently on Binance. And then as we kind of come down, we see a lot of the top projects are absolutely in the green, with some of the others maybe having a bit of a struggle. DeFi feels like it's having a bit of a challenge as people buy into things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. for the upcoming seasons. Now, Terra Lunar Classic is now moved up to the 40th ranked cryptocurrencies. That's 2 places we've moved up to, took back that $1 billion market cap, 1.015, with $81.5 million in volume, up 70% on the day. And that's a significant move in volume, equally when we see the price. So we're outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum at this moment in time. When we take a look at the more technicals, we can see USTC on the daily here having a pretty aggressive move on the nearly up 10%. If we go a little bit nearer, we can go in the hour chart. We can see that USTC just having some big spikes, particularly this one here, 2 o'clock this afternoon, a big spike in USTC. We are seeing this level of consolidation come back, and then it goes again. So USTC, really interesting. A lot of people seeing the depeg of Tron and actually looking at the potential of USTC. Now, we know we've got works coming in the pipeline, particularly with USDC, and ultimately that end goal of repegging to Lunar Classic. But right now, people are moving in, and we've actually seen over the course of the last probably 48 hours, Lunar Classic is on a nice upward trend. You see here the 50-day EMA is now starting to move. We're trending well above it, as well as the 100-day EMA, that blue line there. So really important numbers there for USTC, and we are definitely starting to see some moves in there. Now, the big part here, and why is FBS important and intrinsical to this story about Lunar Classic? Well, I did a video yesterday talking about how both him and Alameda Research, Caroline Ellison, you know how much we like her on the channel, talking about how they were attacking stablecoins and trying to find weaknesses and trying to bring down those stablecoins. So actually, SBF misses the Senate hearing but promises to testify in the House of Financial Services Committee. Now, that could be interesting for a number of reasons. We know publicly now that he has been called out in particular of attacking things like USDT, and ultimately the speculation of him trying to bring down Terra Lunar Classic. Now, if that was to be proven, and actually that he did manipulate and short Lunar Classic to create that sell-off, well, all of a sudden it becomes a bit more interesting when we talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, and in particular Lunar Classic, because then, yes, although there is still a weakness in the coding, ultimately though, this was a malicious attempt to bankrupt and collapse both Terra Lunar Classic and the wider cryptocurrency. And in fairness, he probably did a 75% job of that. We have seen obviously an aggressive bear market over the course of the last year or so. Now, it does say in this article, it says Sam Bankman-Fried, public enemy number 1, won't appear in front of senators on December 14th as he missed the deadline for responding to the Senate Banking Committee. However, we could witness the entrepreneur appear before Congress even a day earlier on December 13th. That is tomorrow. So not only are we going to get those CPI data reports, we could even potentially get Sam Bankman-Fried in the courts. And again, if it comes out and talks about Lunar Classic and talks about the attempt to depeg the Lunar Classic ecosystem, it could be very, very interesting. There'll be a number of things come out on this. There'll be a number of parts put towards it. You can see there, and that's on the final list of potential allegations. A watchdog group, the Citizens for Responsibility of Ethics in Washington, believes the business made dark money donations and has filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission, accusing Bankman-Fried of direct and serious violations of the Federal Election Campaign Act. Now, that's where it all becomes very, very interesting. It is definitely more political than I think a lot of people would like it, and equally, I definitely think that there is going to be much more coming out of this in relation to what he did and ultimately what he tried to do, and I think that's where it could get very, very interesting. Now, Rebel Station. I always think it's worthwhile referencing here. We are back up nearly 13% of our staked amount of Lunar Classic. We know that obviously the news around Terra Station and Rebel Station, and just for clarity, they're still both usable. They're only UIs. We know that this number potentially could even top 14% as people move their Lunar Classic back in after that 21-day period. But actually on Luna, 17.15 billion on-chain volume is a step on. Likewise with UST, we actually saw 30.15 million in volume. Now, that is not all. We talk about governance and the re-enable of IBC client to Crescent, submitted 18 hours ago. This one is to re-enable between Crescent. We know that Osmosis is as kind of worked through. This is the next step going forward. We can see the full article here, where this was the original one where we talked about Osmosis, Crescent being the next one, and Juno being the final one. So we're only a number of days away for this. Is this going to cause the greatest pump in the world? No, but again, it builds the ecosystem. It continues the development of Lunar Classic, and ultimately it is about getting back. You can see how keen people are. We had 22 validators vote, every single one of them voting yes. We still have 118 to vote. KuCoin clearly will never vote because they've missed over 1,000 proposals so far, but definitely a step in the right direction. And actually all of this culmination, this for me is where Terra Lunar Classic really can start to excel. We bring it together, we start to see positive sentiment, and ultimately what does that do? Well, that potentially drives our margin over here. That drives the potential in terms of price. Now, we talked about this on the live stream, that we are in a very, very nice pattern. We look to bring the 50-day EMA down, and potentially by Wednesday we could even see a move to the upside. It's trended exactly as we expected it. We called this on the live stream, and it continues to do so. So basically the next 48 hours are going to be really interesting for Lunar Classic. USTC though already feels like it is making a big move. That's going to do it for this video. What do you think of the whole Sam Bankman-Fried Lunar Classic situation, and do you think we see a pump or dump by Wednesday? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, keep up to date with everything on cryptocurrency, and I'll see you guys in the next one.